Statistics show that in the U.S., 50% of all marriages will end in either divorce or separation.
Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to the Raw Matrimony Podcast.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to yet another episode of Raw Talk. I'm Shatima.
Hey, and I'm Jason.
We're from Raw Matrimony, as you all know. And this week we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic. As you all know, we are dedicated to helping to restore marriages who have, dealt with infidelity, people who have dealt with just the breaking of trust in their marriages. It's our goal and it's our passion to help you guys transform your marriage and restore your marriage. So yeah, today we're going to be talking about our journey of restoration and giving you guys some key points and tips on how to restore your marriage after infidelity.
Yeah. As my wife said, we're going to be talking about, and giving you guys this wouldn't be everything, but help get you guys started on the right road as far as restoring marriage after infidelity. It happens so often, and a lot of times people, we don't know how to handle it. We don't know what to do. What's the first step? So here we are.
And it's so taboo. Like, people don't want to talk about it. Like,
Yeah.
It's kind of like one of those things that I feel like is often hidden and not spoken on, so how can people know how to navigate when it's not really talked about?
Yeah, exactly. So
okay, so point number one, first and foremost, we're going to always let you guys know to seek God. We're going to always point you in the direction of God and seeking Him and really allowing Him to be the head of your marriage. And if there is any other better time, it's now. If you're dealing with infidelity in your marriage, if you've just discovered that your partner has been unfaithful, now, even if you were not seeking God before, now is the time to take hold of everything that He has for you, because you're going to need Him. You're going to need a divine entity, at this point in your marriage to get through and to really be transformed and healed. So I would definitely say the number one thing is you both as a couple and individually need to put everything you have into seeking God and just to really just holding on to Him.
Yep, great. Yep, put God first. And the second thing is full disclosure. So a lot of times we don't want to put it all out there. We call it putting it all on the table.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to put it out there. We might want to just give a little piece and maybe try to cover up the rest. But no, we have to. Honestly, in order to move forward, you have to put that. You got to put full disclosure, put it all out there, and say, hey, this is what I did. You may not feel good about it. You may feel guilty. You may be scared at the response or whatever, but definitely you don't want to just pieces here, pieces there, as you feel like, you want to, don't do it like that.
Yeah, because at this point, you owe it to your spouse, I feel. You owe it to your spouse to give them everything out on the table, to give them the raw truth. No matter how bad it may hurt, they need to know you owe it to them. And you owe it to them to be able to make that informed decision. But how can they make a true decision about something or form a true opinion or, feelings about something if they only have bits and pieces? That's not fair. First of all, it's not fair that you did the offense to begin with. Now, on top of that, you want to control also how it's shared and the truth that's given about it. No, that's not fair at all. So, take yourself out of the equation. Think about your spouse. Think about the one who has to actually deal with hearing these things, learning about the infidelity, and it has to deal with, going through the next few chapters of their life, knowing about it.
Right. And there can't be true restoration unless it's full disclosure, because you want to start rebuilding. And if you want to start rebuilding, you want to rebuild on solid truth, trust, integrity. And if you hold on to a piece of it, it can't be that, not fully, not a true full restoration.
Mm-hmm. And just that makes me think about what God's word says. The truth shall set you free. He didn't say that just for no reason. The truth shall set you free. So even if you're the one who committed the adultery, you're the offender, the truth shall set you free.
Yeah.
Trust God that, you know what, God, I'm holding true to your word. You said the truth shall set me free. So I'm gonna be truthful with my spouse. I'm gonna be truthful with myself. And really, it's not even about being truthful with God, because He already knows.
Yeah,
He knows
exactly.
everything. So, it's about being real with your spouse and real with yourself. So, and then trust God to do the rest. Just like Moses, he didn't know how he was going to go free, his people. But, ultimately, he trusted God to do what he could not do. And that's the encouragement that I want to give to someone today. You may be feeling like, oh, no, I can't tell him or her the whole truth. No, you have to. Trust God.
Yeah. Yep.
Amen. All right, so that leads us to point number 3 is no rash decisions. We oftentimes hear the phrase, don't go to bed, angry, or don't make a decision when you're mad. And I really believe that. I really stand behind that, because when you just learn of the transgression, you're going to be fuming. You're going to feel a myriad of emotions. You're going to feel angry. You're going to feel sad. You're going to feel frustrated. You're going to feel hurt. You're going to feel pain. And all those boggled together will sometimes cause you to want to lash out in an unhealthy way, which is, a natural human response. But we just want to encourage you guys not to make any rash decisions.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Give it some time, take it to the Lord, sleep on it. And trust me. I know all of that is easier said than done. Trust me. But also trust me when I say, if you follow these steps, you'll be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a great point. No rash decisions, because a lot, like when you're there in the moment and it's just the feelings and just keeps on coming, and I could imagine that would be a very tough time. Yeah, I remember. It was that was a rough part. Definitely, that was a rough part. But I'm not gonna. Let me say that it gets easier, but it only gets easier if you do the right things. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you do the wrong things, it could
compound it.
Yeah, it could stay like that. Honestly, it could stay like that for the rest of your relationship. A lot of people are like, well, we can work it out. We don't need to get guidance or whatever. And some of you might be able to, but I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. Even let's say we're big on staying together and working it out, right? But even if you may be thinking about not doing that, don't make that decision in the moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if that's how you feel, or even as far as like maybe separation and things like that. I don't know how my wife feels about it, but I feel like maybe a separation might not be best during that time right there. I really get sound advice as from a professional, but me personally, I don't feel like a separation would even be good. But I say, before you decide to do anything, give yourself some time.
I agree, definitely, because I know for me and with us, it's like one day. So initially, I was feeling like just so mad and just hurt, and but as time went on, I started feeling those feelings started softening up, if you will. So I was like, okay, yes, I'm still mad and hurt, but I still love my husband, so you just want to give yourself time to like be able to feel all of the emotions, as the offended and also the offender. At the same time, the offender, the emotions might be different. You might be feeling attacked. You might be feeling
guilty.
Yeah,
extremely guilty. Yeah,
embarrassed or whatever. But you need to allow. I'm sorry, but you need to. You made your bed, so you need to. You're gonna have to lie in it at some point.
Yeah, accountability.
Yes.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I got to take accountability.
Yes, definitely.
So that leads us to our next point is expect good days and bad days.
Mm-hmm.
And this, it might be rough for even, I'll say, I was going to say it might be rougher for the offended spouse, but it might be rough for the offender as well. And yeah, just know that it gets better. Honestly, like that really, I could say that and encourage you all. It does get better because I remember as we were going through our trial, our time of healing, um, it was very roller coastery. It was because some days would be good and like and it changed from moment to moment. But what I realized was that like this was gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? Like I dug that up, and I initiated those feelings. You know what I'm saying? Like I caused those feelings to be there. So of course sometimes it was frustrating to me, but that's why it's very. I'm gonna encourage you guys to get like a good somebody that you can vent to as a man, like somebody that you trust that'll tell you the right things, because
accountability partner.
yeah, I say an account, but not necessarily accountability partner, just somebody that you can talk to, because it's not necessarily them trying to hold you accountable for anything, but you could just come to them and vent like, I'm feeling like this today, you know what I'm saying? Like
Look, she got mad at me about
yeah,
XYZ.
yeah, and thank God for Pastor Rodney Spencer because I had him. I could lean on him, call him, tell him like whatever. He's like, man, you guys are gonna make it. I know you might be feeling like this right now. So but just keep on pushing, and I'll encourage you to continue to push through it. Like if you guys are committed on making it better, you could do it. Really, you really can. It might be rough right now. And there will be triggers, and as the offender, I say as both, as the offender and the offended, you have to know how to respond to the triggers. So I'll talk about that a little bit because that goes along the lines of expect good days and bad days. So there's going to be triggers, right? So as the offender, you have to be empathetic and sympathetic to when those things arise. So you might feel like it's nothing, but it's not for you to make that determination at this point right now. You caused the offense, so you can't minimize this or that or whatever, say, oh, well, that's just little or that shouldn't matter. No, if it's something that triggered a response in your spouse, you need to do your best to be empathetic and put yourself in their shoes. And as the offended, I'll let you speak to that.
So yes, I can actually give you guys an example, like of how crazy it can be, right? Because so I would get triggered at like, I guess things that to some people will be like, okay, But one example is like it was always this street, and one day he drove like I can't remember where we were going, but he could have taken a different route. But he chose to go, this is in my mind, okay? He chose to go the route where I would see this street, right? And that street was a very, very big trigger for me. So it caused me to get an attitude and just to be like really? Like you really drove this way. You could have went a different way, but you really drove this way when I don't know if he knew or not, but I felt like he should have known that street was a trigger for me. Yeah, just things like that. That's just an example of how it can be. And I'm sure for the person on the other end of that, you're kind of like, really? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's how you were. Yeah, I mean, but.
Well, with some things. Well, with some things, because there were some things I really didn't understand. But then I got to a point, and this is why you guys got to get the help. Because I didn't figure it out on myself. My pastor, he helped us through it. And he was saying, like, when these things come, like this is how you should handle it, and I didn't know it was handling the right way, but the help, like pretty much he said, and this is what I practice and this is what we teach, as the offender, you can't take offense. I'm not telling you can't take offense, but don't take offense to it, because the person is in a very, very vulnerable state. So more so than you take offense to it, put yourself in that person's shoes and try to understand, like, well, if this was me, how would I feel? And that was something that helped me to respond to my wife in a different way versus getting upset or getting frustrated. And sometimes I did, not perfect, no excuses whatsoever. But when I tried to put myself in her shoes and I felt where she was coming from, or as much as I could imagine, then I'm like, okay, babe, I'll do that for you. And it didn't make me feel, I tried to put my pride to the side, and it wasn't about being macho or being prideful or anything like that. I was like, okay, I'm here to serve you, you know, because I did this to you, you know, I'm gonna serve you, and we're gonna make it through it together. You know, it wasn't just her problem or her own because that's how you feel now. Now I'm like, nah, you know, we're a team, we're gonna make it together.
And it's crazy because at times I did feel like he's the one who committed the offense. Why do I feel like now it's just all up to me to pull everything together, hold it together or whatever, when he's the one who committed the offense? But I had to like get out of my own head with that. And just remember, like, I mean, at the end of the day, God never promised us to have an easy life. He never promised us to have an easy marriage. He never promised us to have an easy time being parents. And that goes with everything. So, you know, I had to really get out of my head and just, yeah, you know. And also, too, I will encourage you. So even with those good days and bad days, expect them. And also allow yourself to feel them. Because I know another thing, and I've discussed this on another episode too, I believe. I feel like I try to rush my healing journey, my healing process, just for the sake of saying like, oh, okay, yeah, I forgive him, you know, things are good now. But really, in the long run, I feel like that did more harm than good. Until I got to the point where I was like, no, okay, I have to allow myself to be hurt, to feel pain, because the thing is, I would express my triggers to him, you know, but at the same time I still was trying to rush myself and getting over it, if you will. But I got to a point where I'm like, you know what, it really was a traumatic thing for me. So allow yourself to really just have the time to actually heal, because it's just like a scab. You know, if you get a scar or something, you know, a cut or something, and just because the outside is healed doesn't always mean that the inside is healed. And if you go to pick it, you'll see like, okay, no, it's not healed yet, because even though it has a scab, it's still not healed. And a lot of us,
a C-section, because you know sometimes on the outside the C-section looks like it's healed, but it's still healing on the inside.
I mean, yeah,
and it's scar tissue and all that stuff.
Exactly, yes. So it's like, you know, with a lot of us, we try to, so just because that scab has formed over the transgression, you're like, okay, we're good now. So, but then, you know, something will happen and will pick at that scab, and you'll start to realize like, okay, no, this is not healed completely on the inside. I didn't fully heal, and, you know, I'm not fully healed. I didn't fully forgive. And guess what? That's okay. As long as you're not sitting in that forever and, you know, trying to be woe is me, but you're human. Give yourself time to feel the emotions of the transgression that was done against you, the hurt that was done against you. That's okay. God never said, oh, you're wrong for feeling hurt. He said there's a time for pain. There's a time for joy. Right, you know, right now, the time, if you just dealt with infidelity in your marriage, guess what? It's not going to be a time of happiness, by no means. Guess what? It's probably going to be a time of pain. It's probably going to be a time of sorrow. It's probably going to be a time of hurt. But guess what? The reminder there, and the good thing and encouragement there is, guess what? He also said there's a time for joy. There's a time for healing. There's a time for all of that. But at the same time, we know that there's going to be times for pain and times for hurt.
Yeah. And as the offender, don't try to remove yourself. You know, don't try to remove yourself from that healing process, because your spouse needs you. You know, and it may not feel like, they may push you away. They might tell you they hate you. You know what I'm saying? They might say other stuff as well. You know, don't try to remove yourself from that. Like, they need you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you created the offense. They need you. You might feel like they're pushing you away, even if they tell you to get out the room, like, you know, and they really mean it. I say sit right by the door or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't remove yourself from it, you know, because you don't want to leave them feeling alone in a situation that you caused.
Yeah, don't just go, oh, well, okay, they said leave me alone. So.
Yeah, exactly. Do everything that you can to try to reassure the person, try to be empathetic to them, sympathetic to them. And trust me, they will come around.
But with that, I will say, but you do want to be wise in those times, because there
absolutely.
are times when you may want the offended may want their space, and they very well deserve it. They deserve that space and that time to just get themselves together. So be respectful of that as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that leads us to our next point: no outsiders. And when I say that, I mean, of course, you're gonna want to speak to, like, okay, for me as a woman, you may want to tell your friends or your friend, I mean, your mother or your sister, whoever, your aunt, whatever, about what's going on in your marriage, which that's fine. But at the same time, you don't want to do it to a point where their image is forever tainted. And when I say that, I mean, because you know how as women we love to vent our emotions and frustrations. For us, it's in that moment. But then tomorrow we could be fine, But it's kind of different when it comes to your family members and you're venting things about your spouse. It doesn't really work like that for them. The more negative stuff you tell them about your spouse or significant other, the more the bricks are building a wall of disdain for that person. Okay, so definitely during this time of trying to restore your marriage after infidelity, you want to be on guard about who you vent to. You want to be on guard about who you express your frustrations to. But again, you want to have someone, who you can speak with, of course, because you don't want to go through the situation alone. That's why it's good to get a therapist, a pastor, a coach, something like that. Someone who can walk on this journey with you, who can hold your hand. And yeah, anything to say to that?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say absolutely make sure. Well, okay, going back to the no outsiders thing. I remember so much, like there was things that was shared with other people within this our healing process, but also just within the course of our relationship early on, that was nobody's business. You know what I'm saying? Like, but we made it their business because we brought them into it. Like I called my mom, whatever, called my aunts, friend, different things like that. Just share it, like, oh, out of anger, venting. But I'm like, some stuff just that it's not for them. You know what I'm saying? And also, for the whole healing and rest of, as she said, as my wife said, your family will never forget it. Like, you might get past it, but trust me, that whatever you tell them, share with them or whatever, they're never gonna forget that. But also too, I wanted to make a point as to you have to guard your heart during that time as well, because you're at a very vulnerable state. So I would really suggest just really focusing on like having same-sex friends, versus reaching out to someone of the opposite, because you're in a real vulnerable state right now. You know what I'm saying? So
that might be their opportunity to slide in.
Yeah, I really just suggest, and that's just my personal suggestion or whatever. Everybody could do what they do, but if it's me as a coach coaching you all, I'll tell you, during this restoration process and this time, vent to your same sex friends, your girlfriends or your guy friends or whatever. Don't go running it to somebody else. No one the opposite. I'm telling you, they're gonna tell you what you want to hear.
My best friend.
They're gonna tell you what you want. I'm telling you right now, whether it's a man going to another woman or a woman going to another man, and you're venting as a friend, they're gonna tell you what you want to hear. And you're at a vulnerable state, so guard your heart during this time.
Now, I think it is a beautiful thing when people are actually blessed with. So, for instance, and me and you, we were like best friends, right? But it was absolutely no romantic feelings there at all. And I can give you advice about whatever's going on with you and your wife and vice versa.
Yeah.
I think that's actually beautiful, but it's kind of rare. All right, just from what I've seen, I could be wrong, but just from what I've seen, it's pretty rare because someone always starts to develop feelings. But
yeah, I feel like that. It's not impossible. It's definitely possible, but
during this time, you mean? Okay, I got it.
Yeah, definitely, it's not impossible. But just guard your heart. Be on guard. You might have a friend that you can share with like that. But just guard your heart, because there are people out there that will take advantage of you.
Yes, and say like you had a best friend the whole time, but then I found out you cheated. So now everybody I'm looking at sideways. So, during this time of restoration, people who I may not have, you know, had any issue with him being cool with, now maybe like, oh, you say that's your best friend, right? Like if it's another female or whatever. But during this time, your emotions are raw. You know, you're, what is the word? Oh, you're paranoid about things that you might not have been paranoid about before. So this is just a very delicate time. That's why we give that point of just avoid any issues and just don't even turn to any friends or whatever of the opposite sex during this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So the next point is fully disconnect. And I brought this up because I think sometimes, or maybe often, I'm not sure how often, and I don't have the statistics, but I feel like sometimes